The match is here that we've all been waiting for. Win or go home. We know the stakes. Clint, I want to come to you first. We've talked a lot about what the U.S. needs to do. We've talked about different tactical setups and lineups. What are your concerns going into this match when you look at Iran?
Basically what Kate talked about. When you talk about a game that it's a must-win, you got to get goals. And in this situation, it might be one, it might be two goals. Where are those goals going to come from? And it's not like we have a true number 9, a person that we can always rely on to score. And we need people to step up. We need people to put their bodies on the line, get on the end of crosses, and we need to have people that put the ball on frame more often. So that's what they're going to need to do if they're going to get the win.
Yeah, I think a lot of the conversation revolves around the anticipation of Iran sitting back and just conceding possession, looking to just strike in transition. And with that being said, I think there's also a focus that has to be placed on the attack that they have. Because we've seen already in this tournament they can score goals. We look at the game against England, they scored 2 goals. We look at the game against Wales, they scored 2 goals. They have some threatening players in their forward line. Mehdi Taremi scored 2 goals against England. One of them was in the run of play. The other one was on a penalty kick. And then he also set up a goal against Wales. Another striker, Sardar Azmoun, who's a different profile of player, strong in possession. He can bring players into play. I think we've in some ways overlooked the threat that they can have going forward as well. So I think that's another area of the pitch that has to be of concern and worry for the U.S., putting more emphasis and pressure on the likes of your Walker Zimmermans, your Tim Reams, and even your fullbacks, Anthony Robinson and Serginho Dest. But just spinning this forward, Chad, we talk about the high stakes of this game, right? It's win or go home. They're trying to get into the knockout rounds, but they're already in a knockout round situation because of the circumstances. You've been in similar situations playing in the NFL, playing in playoff games. For players out there that are potentially watching this, for fans that are watching this, talk me through how you approach those kind of situations.
Well, for me, I think the mentality would be is that you have to remember at the end of the day, it's still soccer, regardless of the implications, regardless if it's a win or go home match. I think it's soccer is what you've been doing since you were a little kid. Go out there, play the game, have fun, and just do what you've been doing and all the things you've been taught. And I think everything will be fine.
So, but I'm curious though, because I agree. It's an easy, if you just dial things away, you try to remove the consequences that come with that game, it makes it a little bit easier. But those consequences do exist, and this fan base is demanding more from this team. So I'm curious for you, Clint. 2010, we were in a similar situation. We drew the first game, we drew the second game, we go into that third game knowing that we need to get a result. Talk me through what your process was to get to that point so you were prepared to perform and impress our fan base back home that we're watching.
Yeah, I mean, you knew that everything was on the line, everything to play for. Go out there and leave everything you have on the pitch so that if you need to be subbed, someone else can come on and take your place and continue on and keep pushing for that goal. I remember that game. I remember we had a goal that I scored that was called offsides, and so you're frustrated. And then also there was a play where I'd hit the post and the ball came back to me, and I missed the opportunity thinking, oh, man, this ain't going to be our day. And then in the last dying seconds of the game, we get a counterattack, and, we were able to get that goal. But to your point, Algeria caused us problems. Tim Howard had to make a lot of big saves.
Yes.
We're going to have to make saves in tomorrow's game. It's not going to be easy. It's not like we're going to have the ball the whole game and get our chances, and whether or not we make them or not, we're going to have to defend. Tyler Adams is going to have to put out fires. For me, he's been the man of the tournament for this U.S. side. It's going to be a difficult game, but at the same time, I think we are going to get chances, and you just got to go out there and put them on frame and let the chips fall where they will.
I think we're going to be fine tomorrow. A lot of people continue to say this is pressure. It's pressure for the U.S. men's team. I don't think it's pressure. Pressure is doing something or being asked to do something that you're not familiar with. And with it still being the game of soccer, even though it is the biggest stage, I think they're going to come through and pull through for not just us, even for the people at home.
Yeah, I think you're right. And to your point there,
winner takes all clash against Iran, really. The US need to win to go through. A good scenario for this young team, great tournament experience, and USA were the big winners against England, even though it was a 0-0 draw. All right, then, gents, let's move on now to previewing that massive group finale for the USA. Let's have a look at what they need to do against Iran in Group B, how they should approach it, what the kind of tactics or personnel they should use. But the scenario is very clear, right, for the USA. Win, and they're in the last 16 against Iran. That's all it is. It's basically a knockout game. You get an extra knockout game for your money in this tournament. Lose or draw, and they're out. They know that. So Nick Mendola, coming to you. I mean, what kind of approach would you take to this game? Would you go all out and high press like they did against Wales and England? Can they do that for a third time with the same group of players? Was that maybe something Greg Berhalter was thinking about, changing the lineup to try and have them fresh for a round? Or do you think they can regenerate and recover and just pretty much play the same game plan that they did for the first 45 minutes against Wales and then for the majority of the game against England? Because it's working.
Yeah, I honestly think they're flowing now. And I think they should take until Iran shows them that they can't, then you take your game to them. And this is not like, this is going to sound a little passive aggressive, and believe me, it is. But this is not like a team where England versus the U.S., obviously, U.S. is the England's bogeyman. 3 World Cup games, they've never beaten the U.S. We know who the stronger team is. Just kidding. 1998, FIFA World Cup. The U.S. is coming off 1994 and having the World Cup. We feel like we're starting to build into its own. I'm 16 years old, and what happens? The U.S. loses 2-1 to Iran in a game everyone expected them to win. This is something where you show how far you've come as a program by taking it to Iran. And I think anything else sends the wrong message to your team.
But Andy, I mean, looking at Iran, how well they played against Wales, I mean, they scored 2 late goals, but they should have had it wrapped up by then. They hit the post a couple of times, disallowed goal. Taremi and Azmoun up top going to cause the US a lot more problems than England did, and a lot more problems than Wales did as well. So this is an Iranian team, obviously, we know, on and off the pitch, are united as a team and group of players and are fighting for something a lot bigger than just football. So this is dangerous for the US right now. They're in a decent situation where they know win a game of football or in the last 6.
Welcome back. Well, that win over Algeria in 2010 was exactly the same situation that the US men find themselves in now. 2 draws in their first 2 matches, meaning that the final group stage game was a must-win game, as is this one for them. On Sunday, Tim Riemann, Walker Zimmerman talked about how the team is handling the pressure.
I don't think it changes, to be honest with you. I think we all knew it at some point. You have to win a group stage match to move on. And so the fact that it's now the last game, we know, again, we have to win. And that's what the knockout stages bring. You have to win the games to continue to move on. And so I think it's a good position for this group. I think guys are excited. They're embracing it and mentally prepared for it. And I think that's a good place to be.
I mean, we want the pressure of the knockouts because, in order to win the World Cup, we have to reach the knockout stages. And so this comes one game earlier, and it's almost like a rehearsal. We get the nerves, the pressure, that moment. We get to experience that in Game 3 rather than Game 4 for a lot of other teams.
So here's how it goes now. With a win, the US move on. A loss or a draw, and they are out. The US versus Iran. That is on Tuesday at 1 p.m. for you Eastern on Fox. It's a massive game against Iran, and that means it's also time for the segment that we call Team USA Only. Let me send you over to Carly, Landon, and Mo.
Thank you, Kay. This is my favorite segment, and I have the pleasure of being joined as you